आप सभी का स्वागत है इस सेमिनार में। और पिछले 2 लेक्चर में हम सब ने बहुत कुछ सीखा, बहुत कुछ समझा और करने की जरूरत है, जिसकी ओर सर भी कई बार इशारा कर रहे थे। और ना समझ में आए तो बार बार कह रहा हूं कि आप पूछ लें। और एक रिक्वेस्ट सर से हम लोग सभी ने की थी, और सर ने उस दिन भी कहा था कि स्वप्निल, इन सारी चीजों को मैं दोबारा करूंगा और थोड़ा कंक्रीट वे में, इसलिए मेरा ये वाला लेक्चर यूट्यूब पर मत डालना। तो आज का लेक्चर हम यूट्यूब पर डालेंगे भी सर, और क्योंकि लोगों को सीखने में थोड़ा आसानी होती है। एक और हम सबके बीच में है यहाँ पर रोहितेश, उन्होंने कहा कि हम जो है सर का लेक्चर स्लो मोशन में करके सुन रहे थे। तो हमको जो है थोड़ा सा ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल फील हो रहा था। तो यूट्यूब पर करने पर एक फायदा है ये भी कि हम सब अपने हिसाब से स्पीड जो है कम या ज्यादा कर लेते हैं। और बिल्कुल सही बात है कि आपकी स्पीड को पकड़ पाना बहुत मुश्किल है। हाँ, तो बिल्कुल सर, आपसे कहता हूँ कि आप जो है हम सबको जो है पिछला लेक्चर ही थोड़ा विस्तार में और थोड़ा सिस्टमेटिक वे में करिए, और फिर नए नए सवाल तो उठ ही रहे हैं, हम सब डिस्कस करेंगे जी।
तो पिछले लेक्चर का जो वो था, एब्स्ट्रैक्ट था, वो तो मैं बता करके कुछ और भी करता हूँ। और उसको तो अभी थोड़ा सा उसमें जो लोअर फील्ड्स के लिए है ये करेंगे। विपुल से हमने बात किया है। तो ओके, तो आई मैं इसको व्हाइट बोर्ड ये हम शेयर कर लेते हैं। इसका बिंग है ना, शूटिंग पर्सनल नोट, ये रामजी नोटबुक। हाँ, ये आ गया और ये आ गया। तो ये क्या हम गायब हो जाते हैं क्या?
जी बिल्कुल, आ गया आ गया।
हम गायब हो जा रहे हैं क्या?
नहीं, आपकी फोटो आ रही है, बढ़िया आ रही
अच्छा
है।
अच्छा, बस ठीक है। ठीक है, तो हमको हमको नहीं दिखाई दे रही है कि हम वो दिखाई दे रहे हैं, तो
अच्छा
इसलिए
ठीक
मैं
है।
ये सोच रहा था। तो so let me, so actually last time lecture was simply to say that to so far we described indeed the normal subgroups of GL24, GL and F. So we describe, so consider your GL and F. So GL and F. So our aim was to describe normal subgroups of GL and F. And we observed the split exact sequence, this exact sequence SL and F to GL and F to F star to 1. Now this is the split exact sequence. This is something which you have already observed. If you take any A here, then you map A to the matrix whose first row first entry is 1 is A, and the rest of the diagonal entries are 1. So this is a splitting. So therefore you see that GL and F is semi-direct product of SL and F, where SL and F is normal subgroup, and F star. Then to obtain, then we also observed that leaving exceptional cases, which will be discussed again by Vipul sometimes later, this GL and F, the normal subgroups of GL and F are obtained as follows. So if you take any normal, so this was the theorem. Let me recall again theorem. So leaving few exceptional cases, if H is a normal subgroup of GL and F, and that is not contained in the center, such that H is not contained in the center of GL and F, then this H contains center. So, so if H is a normal subgroup of GL and F, which does not contain the center, then this will contain the special linear group, as that is what we had obtained. Now, such subgroups are obtained. Subgroups which contain S, L, and F will be obtained through splitting. So look at a subgroup of F star. So if you take a subgroup K of F star and look at this embedding, which is your splitting. So SK. So SK is a subgroup here. If you take SK and multiply with S, L, and F, that is a normal subgroup of GL and F. So this is a normal subgroup of GL and F obtained in this way, and that is very explicit description. So such normal subgroups are obtained in this manner, and provided we know all subgroups of multiplicative group of the field F. Which is known to quite some extent. For example, if you take F to be R, then the subgroups are either cyclic or they are dense, like Q. And so closed subgroups, if you go to the closed subgroups, normal subgroups of GL and F, then they are simply the cyclic groups or the whole group. So that way you obtain here. And then next you see here that next you see here that the center is also contained. So what is center? Center also we determined center of GL and F is what? That is the scalar matrices. So this is the set of all scalar matrices alpha I, such that alpha belongs to F star. This is something which we observed last time. See, if a matrix commutes with all transvections and diagonal members, then it is just the scalar matrix. That is what we had obtained last time. So this is Z center is this, which is isomorphic to F star. So those subgroups which are contained in which are normal in GL and F, they are like this also. So indeed, you know all type of normal subgroups of GL and F. So all normal subgroups of GL, there were some exceptions here. So here we assume that either n is greater than or equal to 3, or if n is equal to 2, then the field F has to contain more than 4 elements. So naturally we have excluded this case GL2 F3, where F3 and F2, and you observe here that GL2 F2 is what? GL2 F2 is precisely SL2 F2, right? GL2 F2 F2 is a field containing 2 elements. So if so naturally any non-zero element is just 1. So the determinant of any element of GL2 F2 is 1. So therefore GL2 F2 is SL2 F2, and this is a group of order 6. You know this, you can see what is this, 2 square minus 1 into 2 square. So all maybe order etc. Vipul will take care of this. So 2 square minus 2, which is your 6. So you see that this SL2 F2 is 6, which is your GL2 F2. So naturally it's a and it is non-abelian, so it is going to be isomorphic to S3. So what is its commutator? The commutator is A3, which is not equal to SL2 F2. So that result which we observe that the commutator subgroup of GL and F is SL and F is not in general true here. So all these things will be taken care of by Vipul. I have asked him to sometimes later he may do this. So for example, the structure of GL2F4, say PSL2F4, etc., etc. And as a corollary, you know, we obtain this this result that PSL2 and F is simple group whenever n is greater than or equal to 3, and PSL2 F is also simple if F contains more than 4 elements. So that follows from what we did last time. So this is a PSL2 F4 is simple, and this group is one in the class of all finite simple groups, the chain of simple groups, finite simple groups. If you take F to be a finite group, then these are all finite groups. If F is a finite field, then these are all finite groups. So this is one which is called AN type of simple groups. So that that is something which we did last time, right? Am I right? Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I'm coming to something. So the thing is that there are still more, and you see, we have also seen some important subgroups of GLNF. They are Borel subgroups, they are monomial subgroups, they are unipotent subgroups, and the general linear group was described in terms of these groups and wide groups in the first lecture, if I'm right. So that is something. So now, apart from these groups, there are still some important subgroups of GLNF, which are important, which are crucial and very significant in geometry. They are very crucial in geometry. For example, you see, and they are, see, if you go to geometry, so every geometry is based on some kind of form. For example, Euclidean geometry is based on your the usual positive definite inner product, the real positive definite inner product, which we already know, the inner product, right? Inner product, which is a kind of form, which is a form, non-degenerate positive definite form on Rn, and essentially, as we'll see, that they are all that is the one which is unique up to. So that is the Euclidean geometry, which is based on this this form, the inner product, as we call it. If you go to the hyperbolic geometry, the geometry is based on Lorentz form. So that also described. And there are other forms. For example, symplectic geometry is based on symplectic form. So more or less every geometry has something to do with the kind of form which are associated with the form, and the group which keep these 4 forms invariant are very important in that kind of geometry, which are in roughly to say that they are the group of isometries of those geometric objects appearing in there. So that is the and those groups are plenty. There are plenty of such groups, and they are classical groups. Apart from these groups, they are called the classical groups. So that is something which we wish to discuss now. Okay, right? Okay, I hope it's okay, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so this is something which, so if you want to do that, we have to do a little bit of a theory of forms, which is also done. I hope it is done in master's degree, as I understand, the theory of sesquilinear forms or bilinear form. So I'll come to that. So for that, so let F be a field. So I'm going to do this theory of sesquilinear form, or bilinear form, or sesquilinear form. I mean, I'll talk a little more general, because I have to do the things also. Bilinear and sesquilinear form. So let F be a field with some involution, with an involution. So I'll make it clear. Involution star, that is star is a map. Star is an automorphism of the field F. Automorphism of the field F, right? The field F, it's an automorphism of the field F, which is of order say whose square is identity. So star square is identity. So that means we have a map. A goes to A star from F to F star. So this map satisfies this is this map is a star is a map of this kind, such that the following holds. So what is that? The first, it has to be a automorphism. So that means A plus B star is A star plus B star. Second, AB star is A star B star. Okay, so this is there, and right, so and it is an automorphism, it's a bijective vector. So this is an auto, and the third thing is that A star star is A for every A belonging to F. So for example, you see that on R, so identity map is always an involution. I'll take it to be, it's not a genuine involution, it is not of order 2, it's an identity, but this satisfies all these conditions therefore. And if it is identity star is identity, then we shall call it to be a bilinear. Okay, I'll come to that. It's just a map now. So R is here, and so our R identity is such a map, and as we can easily see that identity is the only automorphism of R. I'll say about it. So R, then look at this C. So C, you have the identity is of course there, and then Z goes to the conjugation of Z. Z, A plus BI goes to A minus BI. For example, if you take Q root 2 is a field whose elements are A plus B root 2. So and A, B are in rational numbers. So you map A plus B root 2 to A minus B root 2. So this is also an involution. Right? Yes. Any problem? Okay. So that is that is an involution on F. For example, if you look at a little more general, which is your Hamiltonian, the quaternion algebra. So that is what quaternion algebra, you know, is A0 plus A1I plus A2J plus A3K, where A0, A1, A2, A3 are all real numbers. And you have the addition and multiplications. Here addition is the quadrant-wise, multiplication is that which is obtained by the quaternion group, as you know, that is your Ij is equal to K, and Jk is equal to I, and Ki is equal to J here, and Ji is equal to minus K, etc. So that you know, and you extend this multiplication on this through bilinearity. So that is the algebra here, and here also you have a some kind of involution. A0 plus A1I plus A2J plus A3K goes to A0 minus A1I minus. So if you call this to be Q, then you can call it quaternion Q. Then you have the Q bar, etc. So that is these are the maps in which we shall be interested sometime. So that is the this is a star, and as I have already observed for R, you know, you see, if you look into the out of R, you know, it is just identity. I hope you know it. The automorphism of the field R is identity only. Why it is identity only? Because you know that every automorphism of a field fixes the elements of its prime field. So it fixes, it will take 1 to 1, and therefore it's a homomorphism. So it will take 2 to 2, 3 to 3, etc., etc., Z to Z. And once it takes Z to Z, inverses will go to the inverse. So it will fix Q also. And once it fixes Q, and you know that an automorphism alpha will always take a positive element to positive elements. As you see, alpha will take a positive element to a positive element, because if it is A square, then any positive element is a square of a member of a real number. So therefore, this alpha A square will be alpha A square, and square is always positive. So it takes positive to positive. So that means it will take positive to positive. So therefore, if A is greater than B, this will imply that any automorphism will take alpha A minus B also to be greater than 0. That is, alpha A is greater than alpha B. And you so you see that any automorphism R just preserves order. And as we all know that R is an order complete field. R is an order complete field. So therefore, this alpha will take fix the members of R because it fixes the members of. Okay, so now you see that if A belongs to Q and A belongs to Q, then alpha A is A. That is what we have observed. And how you describe R, which is order complete field coming out of Q, or if you are familiar with the Dedekind cut, you can simply see that any real number system is described through Dedekind cut. And what are they? They are described with certain cuts. The cut is the left hand side and right hand side, and certain properties are there. And since it preserves order, it will take cuts to cuts, and Dedekind cuts to cuts, Dedekind cuts, and therefore it takes it is identity mapping. So you see that the Galois group of Galois group of R over Q is identity. Identity. It's a very simple, very elementary thing. So that is the. So therefore, on Q, on R, you see that you cannot have any involution except identity. And on C also, you can see that those were the involutions, Z goes to Z bar, etc., etc. So that is the involution. So now I'm coming to the concept of Susskiw linear form. So now I'm coming to the Susskiw linear form. So what is a Susskiw linear form? So let F be a field. So F be a field with a star, the involution is already there. And V be a vector space of usually finite dimensional, maybe K to the power n. Usually for our purpose, it will be F to the power n all the time. So, and F be a finite dimensional vector space, finite dimensional vector space. Then a map F from F cross F to, sorry, V cross V, V cross V to F is called a Susskiw linear form. So I'm taking Susskiw because I wanted to have a unified kind of thing. So Susskiw linear form is called a Susskiw linear form if the following holds. The first thing is that F of x plus y z is equal to fxz plus fyz. Second, and f of xy plus z is equal to, so anyway, so fxy plus fxz. So it is additive in a way. So fixing one, we get a group homomorphism. The third property is that it is also linear in the first coordinate, alpha xy is alpha fxy. But it is semi-linear. It is semi-linear, so to say, in the fourth coordinate, in the second coordinate. That means fx alpha y is alpha star. That is star which we have taken here. So that is alpha star fxy. So then we say that it is a Susskiw linear form. So such a map is a Susskiw linear form. So I'll give an example here. So indeed, so example is indeed they are all examples. Indeed, I am describing all examples. Maybe as will be clear right now. So let A be a matrix. A be a n cross n matrix. Over F, then describe, so and consider your F to the power, so you consider F to the power n here, F to the power n here, and define a map F from F to the power n to cross F to the power n to F by putting F, x is a vector, y is a vector, and then what you do, you take x bar here, x bar vector treated as a column, as a row matrix, and here is your A, and here what you do, you take the row vector here, take its transpose, and then apply star. here. Then apply star. So if you have a column vector here, y1, y2, yn, here which is the transpose of y1, y2, yn, then star of this is y1 star, y2 star, etc., etc. So you can define star of any matrix, that so to say. So you are given any matrix A, and then you can define star of this is the matrix which is obtained by taking the star of each entry of if so. So if A is Aij, then A star is your Ai star. I mean the matrix whose ith row jth column is this. So that is the star, and the A star and the transpose is A transpose star, and this we shall denote by say A bar or whatever, and this is what is called the Hermitian conjugate of the matrix A. So this is this. So you see that Fx bar is so every matrix A here determines you a bilinear, a sesquilinear form. You can easily check that this is a sesquilinear form. Check that it is a sesquilinear form. And as we shall see in a moment, that essentially up to certain equivalence, certain nice equivalence, these are all forms, so sesquilinear forms on a finite dimensional vector space of dimension n. So this is an example. So take any matrix and define it like this. So you will be getting a sesquilinear form on f to the power n. And okay, so this is sesquilinear form on f to the power n. So now we shall define. We shall. Okay, so let me make it little. So now suppose f is a So let me justify this. So suppose f is a sesquilinear form, so S form, SF, I'll write, sesquilinear form on a vector space V of dimension n. So fix a basis. So so this is usual thing. It is done. I hope it must be done. It is usually done, as I understand, but I'll do this. So fix a basis x, which is just say x1, x2, xn of V. So I'll define. Okay, so from V to f to the power n, I define a map which I'll call this to be Tf. So this x induces an isomorphism. Tx, say I'll write this Tx from V to f to the power n. How it is done? That you already know, Tx of any vector here. So if you take a vector, if you take any x here, so T of x is defined to be a bar, which is your say a1, a2, an, where x is a1 x1 plus a2 x2. So it is just the projection to the coefficients, so to say. So an x to the power n. So this is an isomorphism from this to this. And then if you look into it, so let f be a bilinear form. So this f also gives you a matrix. So f gives you a matrix. Which I'll write is that, so that I'll write as mx of f, that is matrix determined by the bilinear form, the sesquilinear form f. So which is the matrix whose ith row jth column is given by xi xj. So this is the matrix whose ith row and jth column is equal to fxi xj. This is a basis of the vector space. So mxf. So every form gives rise to a matrix this, and right. And then what is your fxy? What will be xy? So that I say that look at this txx. Think of that as a vector here, txx. So txx is like this, and then look at this matrix mxx, and look at this txy. y. So y will be something b1, b2, b, etc. So then take this and take this the star and the transpose. So that I think I offered this notation here. So this is so let me write here t star and a transpose, right? So this is the fxy. Okay, what has happened? Yeah. So this is fxy. Right. So what is this? So this txxmx. So this is a matrix, and as earlier, I mean, so this is indeed can be identified with the Susquilinear form as we had given earlier. So this is a matrix. This can be taken to be a matrix, some matrix A bar, and into a matrix A and A bar transpose. So any thing can be obtained in this manner. Any Susquilinear form can be obtained in this manner. But this depends on the the basis, right?
Hello.
Yes. So this depends on the basis. So if y is another basis, if y equal to y1, y2, yn.
सर क्वेश्चन है किसी का?
हाँ बोलो.
हाँ गौरव जी पूछिए.
Sir, please repeat fxy again. What is fxy? Please repeat again.
Fxy.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just above line.
Okay. So now what is fx? F is a bilinear form on right. F is a bilinear form on V. So therefore, F is a mapping from V cross V to F, and X and Y are members of V. So Fxy will be a member of F. And now this X is this and Y is this. Y is, say if you write it as a B1 X1 plus B2 X2 plus so B and Xn. So what is T XY? Txy is the vector B1, B2 and Bn. This is the vector Txy. Am I right? So if you apply Fxy, so what will be Fxy? So Fxy will be f of sigma Aixi and sigma Bixi. Now use the property of Susquilinear form. So therefore, what will be this equal to? This will be equal to sigma Ai, double summation will be Ai, Fxi xj, and then this is your Bj, a Bj star, because it is a Susquilinear form. So Bj star. So this will be double summation here. So if you take this match, so what is this? This is the product A1, A2, An, and this matrix, the matrix whose ith row jth column is this. So you can, that is your mxf by your definition. That is your mxf. So this into the matrix mxf here and into the column matrix. So this is a row matrix. You see, if you multiply by a row by an n cross n matrix, you get a row matrix. So this is the and multiply by a column. So this is something like the standard inner product in R kind of thing. So therefore, you look at this is star. So this is your B1 star, B2 star, Bn star. Am I right? So this is what, and this is what I have written. So what is this? Txx is what? Is A1, A2, An, and Txy is what? B1, B2, Bn star. So this is the thing which we have obtained. Am I clear?
Yes,
is
sir.
It right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is so this is your the fxy. So in other words, what you do, if you look at in the standard representation of a vector space in terms of f to the power n, then every form can be every Susquilinear form can be expressed is expressible in this form with respect to a matrix A. So it is just the matrix, and then you take the this A bar. So this is, and that is why I said that they are all examples in a way. Essentially, they are all examples of Susquilinear form. So that is there. But if you take right, so now you change a basis here. So if you change a basis, then you can also write that yj is equal to summation certain matrix here. So take a matrix here, the change of transformation, as we say. So this is your bj, pj, ie, and xi. So you see that y1, y2, yn is also a basis, and every member yj can be written as pj I xi, I equal to 1 to n, because it's the x1, x2, xn was also a basis. So I'm looking at what is the effect of change of base. It's a usual thing that you have been doing in your linear algebra. So yj can be written in this form, yj is equal to this, and then substitute. So what will happen to this? So then you can easily see that txx can be written as txy, tyx into p, this matrix. See how you can write down. So write down txx is txx, if you take x to be a1, a2, an. txx is a1, a2, an, a1, a2, an. Then if you so how you write? You will be writing xi. Okay, so I'm putting tyx. Let me take tyx will be txx into p. उल्टा हमने लिख दिया है, ये हमने उल्टा लिख दिया है, right? Because so t y x will be what? This will be expressible as bi, yi, yj, bj, yj, and substitute this yj here, pxi, yj, and just calculate this. So then you'll be getting this thing, right? So this is the effect. And then if you look into the same matrix, same thing, fxy. So fxy will be what in terms of ty's? So this can be written as txx p, and then tmx my x, and then txx p star. I mean transpose and star, transpose star. It will get reversed. So that will be txx and pmmyx and p tilde and tx. And if you compare with that kind of thing, p here, p is here, p here, and that is the same thing as txx, and then mxx and txx tilde here, then these two are same thing. And you see this is a vector, this is for every y, x and y. This is for sorry, this is y, this is y. Am I right? I'm sorry, I made so I hope you can easily see this. This is not so okay. So okay,
mxf है क्या mxx?
You get this. So you know that this is a very elementary fact, that if you take b, you take a vector a bar, and you take a matrix a, and you take a b bar star here, and you look at this matrix here, and you take another matrix C here, which also satisfies the same property for every A, B star, then A will be equal to C. Am I right? ये बात आप लोग क्लियर है कि अगर कोई दो मैट्रिक्स A, yes?
हाँ, ये हिमाद्री सर पूछ रहे थे, वो mx आप बार बार लिख जा रहे हैं, mxf है ना?
mxy, हाँ वो है,
ये जो आपने ऊपर वाली लाइन में लिखा है
mxf लिखना चाहिए, हाँ वो हमने गड़बड़ लिख दिया, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, mxf. So here it is your mxf, the matrix associated to that form with respect to that basis. So ये thank you Himadri, ये हमने मिस्टेक की थी, ठीक है? आप लोग क्लियर है? ये हमने मिस्टेक कर दिया था, लिखने में मिस्टेक कर दिया था, और actually I don't know, I always get confused the relationship between your expression, the language and your thought. तो इन दोनों में कुछ गैप होता है शायद, मुझे लगता है ऐसा कुछ पता नहीं ये सोचे आप कह रहे हैं उसको आपके एक्सप्रेशन में पूरी फेथफुली आ जा रहा हो ये दिस इज आल्सो बट परहैप्स दिस इज आल्सो अ काइंड ऑफ आर्ट पीपल हैव दैट काइंड ऑफ आर्ट कि उनका ठीक है तो ये कुछ गड़बड़ हो जाता है एमएक्स थैंक यू हिमाद्री तो दैट इज एफ इज दैट राइट ठीक है तो अब मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि A is a matrix, B is a matrix, and capital A is a matrix, C is a matrix, and suppose A bar A, B bar star is equal to this for every pair of matrices A, B here, then I say that A is equal to C. That is what is equal to this. So this is what? This is a vector. This is simply equivalent to say that if you have a vector U bar here, if U bar is a vector and it is such that U bar and any vector V bar transpose is equal to W here with respect to any transpose here, then these will cancel and A bar C. So from this you see that A bar A will be equal to A bar C for every vector A. This is for every vector B. So A bar C, this vector has to be the same as this vector. This is a vector. This is a vector, and this is something like dot product kind of thing. So you just substitute the value, and you will be seeing that this vector is the same as this vector. And once this vector is the same as this vector for every A, that means A is equal to C. And so therefore, you see that this matrix is the same as this matrix. So what is that? That simply says that MXF is the same thing as P MY, फिर यहाँ पे हमने X लिख दिया है, ये F है, MYF and P bar star P star transpose, which is your P bar. So this is this thing. ये क्लियर है? Am I right?
Yes.
ठीक है?
Yes sir.
कोई इसमें कंफ्यूजन हो तो बता दीजिएगा. ये ऑब्जर्वेशन बहुत क्लियर है. I mean normally you see that the inner product अगर हर एक के लिए 0 है तो you see this form sigma ai bi sigma ai bi is a non degenerate form. I have not yet defined the form, but that is what it means, and that is the matrix kind of thing. तो ये क्लियर है आपको, हमारी समझ से इसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, आप देख सकते हैं कि ये है. तो therefore this is equal to this. So therefore you have this definition. Now I am giving you definition here. A matrix A is said to be congruent to B if there is a non-singular matrix P such that B is equal to PAP star transpose. So then we say that these are congruent. These two matrices are congruent. So therefore you see that the matrices associated to a form with respect to different bases, they are all congruent. And you see here that if F and G are so more generally, this is these observations should be useful for the further discussion. More generally, if F and G are forms, linear forms, such that, and T is an isomorphism from V to B, such that GTX TY is equal to FXY, then F and the matrix F and G are congruent. तो दो फॉर्म को हम कॉन्ग्रुएंट कहते हैं अगर ये कंडीशन सेटिस्फाइड हो. So they are isomorphic. I mean, see, you can talk of the category MF, the pair MF G. See, you know, VF and pair V is a vector space, F is a form, and then you can define kind of morphisms and so on. So I'm not talking about that. So that is the thing here. So if that is the case, then you see that up to congruence. So I wish to make this observation, which is important and which I'll be using all the time. That up to congruence, you see, matrices, the sesquilinear forms are the congruent classes up to congruence. Okay, so now I define, say A and B are said to be congruent. That is what I have already defined. And is congruent to is an equivalence relation. So therefore, you have congruent classes of matrices. And so to classify sesquilinear form, what you have to do is to classify up to the congruence classes of matrices. So you have to find congruent classes. So describe equivalence classes of congruent classes of matrices. So we need to describe congruent classes of matrices. And it will be better if in each class, so suppose, so it's better to kind of have a representative, one and only one representative from each conjugate class. So it will be needed. So we need, so it will be better. It will be better and indeed everything done in this way. So it will be better if we get a canonical representative from each congruent class of matrices. So that means, so if you have a class here, then one choice of one and only one member from this we wish to have. From each congruent class, we wish to select a unique, a canonical member. And furthermore, we also want to have a canonical reduction, means to every matrix, to every given any matrix to which class it belongs. So this is the problem, no? Right? This is the problem of classification of, so this is the classification of congruent classes of sesquilinear forms, right? ये clear, ये statement clear है? ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the congruent classes का description. तो हमारा purpose अब ये है, we wish to classify in this manner. So in each congruent class, we wish to obtain one representative from each congruent class, and how to, given a congruent a matrix, how to get that congruent class. So this is a problem. So one invariant. So in other words, we will try to do the faithful invariant. The faithful invariant means if A and B are congruent, then those invariants are same, and if those invariants are same, then the matrices then they are congruent. So that is the faithful invariant we want to compute. So the first thing which we have is the rank of the form. So let me define the rank of the form and describe that. So rank of the form and the corresponding rank of the matrices. So this is a simple theorem or proposition, simple observation here. So let F be a, और किसी रूप में मैं इसको बता भी चुका हूं शायद. So let F be a sesquilinear form. For on V, and fix a member. So if you fix a member X here, fix X in X, then as usual you see that here you have a map Fx from V to F, which is given by Fx of y is equal to Fxy. F is a bilinear, is a sesquilinear form. So this is Fxy. Fx is a map from V to F given by this. So this you see is additive. So obviously additive. So then theorem अभी हम आते हैं, पहले हम इसको थोड़ा बता दें. तो Fxy. So what is this Fx? Fx is what? Fx is some kind of semi-linear functional, as you see. So how? So that means that Fx satisfies the property Fx y1 plus y2 is equal to Fx y1 plus fxy2. And fx of alpha y is not alpha fxy, but it is alpha star fxy. So this is a same. So that means this fx is a semi-linear form. It's a semi-linear form. Is a semi-linear form. So fx is a semi-linear form. A semi-linear transformation also you can talk of whenever the field has some kind of involution. You can talk of semi-linear transformation, and you can build up a theory, the kernel, the range, kernel, the isomorphism theorem, etc. And if you take the semi, and semi is the linear transformation. So that fact you can use to observe that most of the results are true. In fact, I think you have to be careful in stating your results. Those results are true. You can talk of kernel, you can talk of all those things. You can talk of semi-linear functional. So let me denote this. This is the space of semi-linear functionals, not linear functionals. And you can see that sum of two semi-linear functional is a semi-linear functional, and the scalar multiplication can be found. So this is also a vector space. This is a vector space. You check it. Vector space. This is a vector space usually. And if you take y here, which is your defined by fy, let me write superscript. Fy of x you define to be fxy, fixing y. So fix y. And then you define fy of x is fxy here. Then what is fyx? Fxy. So then this fy is a linear functional. So fy indeed belongs to the dual space here. So you have two maps. So left LF. Let me define this map. We have map LF from V to V. This the space of semi-linear functionals. I don't know what to call it. And then you have RF here from V to V star, which is a linear functional here. So RF. So what is LF? LF is of x left, right. So LF of x is equal to fx. Right, and LF RF of y is f superscript y. So these are the functionals, and you know that from V to V cap to V star, you can have this map f goes to f mod f. So mod f or whatever you call it. So mod of f of x is fx star. So then you can see that this is again so therefore this is again an isomorphism kind of thing. So therefore this LF and RF are defined here, and what we observe here. So let me prove. Let me state it and prove a theorem. So the proof is very elementary, and you yourself can prove if you want. So the theorem is this: that so you can talk of the rank of LF, and you can also talk of the rank of RF. Yeah, right. Though they are not. This is not a vector space linear transformation. This is a semi-linear transformation. RF is a linear transformation. But then even then you can talk of the rank and nullity, and the theorem rank nullity theorem is true for semi thing also. You can easily verify that rank and nullity theorem is true for that semi linear transformation also. So then you can talk of the rank. So the rank of LF is the same as the rank of the matrix A, which is the same as rank of the matrix this. So this is the theorem which is I wish just to observe. So it's very simple proof. So let me say if we canonically do it. If we just look into the canonical representations into Rn. So this simply means that the rank of the two congruent matrices are same. So this is essentially, so maybe should I write the proof of it, or you can do it? Can you do it? Okay, so let me explain, and you can do it. So okay, so now look at this rank of the LF is the same thing as rank of the matrix A. What is the matrix A? The A I have taken to be a matrix of F with respect to a basis. With respect to a basis, MXF. So this you can talk of MXF. And as we have observed earlier, that the matrix of F with respect to different bases are congruent, and the congruent matrices have the same rank. Yet the clear hai, because P is a non-singular matrix, and PAP star, they will have the same rank. Transpose will have the same rank. This will have the same rank as A, because P is non-singular. So therefore, it is independent of that. So that is you can write. So rank of this is equal to rank of A. So this is equivalent to say equivalently the nullity of LF is the same as the nullity of A. So what is the nullity of LF? The nullity of LF is what? So LF is a map from V to V tilde. So nullity of F is what? It is the dimension of the null space of LF. So what is that? That is X, such that LF of X is Fx. Fx is 0, right? Fx is 0. This is 0 linear transformation. So that is the so that means this is the dimension of X such that Fxy is equal to 0 for every y. Now look at the same equation in case of the matrix representation. So this will simply mean to say that Txx, so X is a base, fix a basis now. Fix a basis now. So then I can come to the matrix case. So Txx here, Txx, Txx, right? And then you see that Mx of F and Tx of y of a star and transpose is equal to 0 for every y. That is y. That is what is. So this is the same thing as the dimension of this. Am I clear? Dimension of this space. The dimension of this space is the same as the dimension, because this is the same thing as that. So that is the dimension is the same thing. Am I clear? So for every y, and you see that Tx is an isomorphism. So what does it mean? That Txy, if y varies, this will cover the whole of the column vectors. So the whole of the column vectors, this will cover the whole of the column vector. So what will this mean? So this will mean that Tx, this is those Txx here, the dimension of the space of these matrices over here, so that this is equal to 0, because this is there, and this is equal to 0 means what? That is the null space of Tnxm. Those Txx for which Txx into Mxf is 0 is what? It is the null space of Mxf, and indeed that is, if you take Tx inverse, that is this thing. So that is the clear. So therefore this is the null space, the dimension of the null space of A, null space of the matrix of Tx Mxf, which is the null space of A. So they are the same. I think it is clear. ठीक है? ठीक है?
Yes.
ये स्पेस, इसमें जो Tx आइसोमॉर्फिज्म है, कैपिटल Tx is an isomorphism from where to where? From the vector space V to F to the power n, and this has been translated over here in the form of matrices here. So that is the null space, and the matrix, corresponding matrix is Mxx, and you see that the congruent matrices are always have the same rank, so it is independent of the basis. So that is the rank of A, where A is the matrix associated to that. So this is the thing which is there, right? I hope it is clear. ठीक है, तो yeah, so that is the thing. So these two are same thing, rank. So now, so this rank is an invariant. Rank is an invariant of the class of equivalence class of congruent matrices. So rank is one invariant. I wish to will come to other invariants also in depending on the fields. So this classification will depend on fields also. So I'll come to that. Okay, so that is the rank of the. Now let me here come to the do some, a little bit side and do that. So let me say. So here I put the definition here that a form. So whenever I write form means substitute form is said to be a non-degenerate is said to be a non-degenerate substitute form if the rank of f, a form f, rank of f is the same as n. So form on n-dimensional vector space. So rank of f. So that means the matrix corresponding to that is non-singular. That is the matrix A, which is your MXF, is non-singular. Right. So now I'm coming to the group here. So this is there, and now I'm coming to the classical. Say something about the what we want to do. So this is the linear form, which is a non-degenerate form. So now I'll come to this. Let me have this proposition, which is so let f be a. क्या हो गया? ये क्यों गायब हो गया? Yes. So let f be a non-degenerate. क्या हो जा रहा है? ये कुछ हो गया है. ये हमारा ये कुछ गायब हो जा रहा है बीच-बीच में, क्या बात है? So f be a non-degenerate substitute form, right? Then look at so on a vector space. क्या हो जा रहा है? इसके में क्या हो जा रहा है? ये कुछ गड़बड़ हो जा रहा है.
सर पेन में दिक्कत हो रही है क्या?
हाँ, ये हमारे जो पेन है जो क्या है वो.
हाँ, पेन में दिक्कत हो रही होगी. एक काम करना पड़ेगा. हाँ, आज यहीं स्टॉप कर दीजिए. इस पूरे सिस्टम को एक बार स्विच ऑफ करके स्विच ऑन करना होगा. हाँ. और
तो मैं अभी देख रहा था, थोड़ा सा कुछ बता देता हूँ, अभी चल रहा है.
ठीक.
तो f be a non-degenerate form on a vector space V of dimension n, or maybe f to the power n itself. I will be taking that. So and let GF denote. ये फिर चला गया. क्या है इसमें? इसको निकाल के फिर लगाएं क्या? नहीं, आ गया. हाँ, चलो. So
वो देखना पड़ेगा सर.
Let GF be denote the set of all transformations. ये कुछ यहाँ पे है क्या बेटा? Set of all transformations, linear transformations, T such that situation है linear transform such that ftx ty is equal to fxy. So in that sense we are talking of those transformations which keep this form invariant invariant means this form is invariant under the transformation T. So GF denote the set of all such transformations T. So then you can then T is a then GF is a subgroup of GLV, which is isomorphic to GLNF. Right? So this is a subgroup of this. So first of all, so proof is very elementary. And furthermore, if F and G are two equivalent non-degenerate forms, equivalent non-degenerate forms, then GF is conjugate to G, F and G. GF is conjugate to GG, right? In GLV. So if you replace V, this is GL and F. So GF and GG. So in particular, they are isomorphic, right? So this is the theorem. This is important observation, and that is something. So I can take minutes more, right? अभी समय तो लग रहा है. So GF is conjugate to GG if F and G are two equivalent transformations. So this is your GL and F in a way. This will be GL and F. So they are conjugate, and this group GF is called a classical group associated to the form F. So this is a classical group. Okay, so GF is so this is there. Now you see here that if T is such T, first of all I have to show that T is in GLV. T is an isomorphism. If FTX Ty is equal to Fxy for every xy, and T is simply a linear transformation, then this is an isomorphism. Why? This is very elementary, because F is already taken to be a non-degenerate binary form. So suppose Tx is 0. Then, since Ftx Ty is equal to Fxy, if Tx is 0 for every y is equal to 0 for every y, and this will mean that x is 0 because F is assumed to be a non-degenerate binary form. So that means LF has a kernel 0. So therefore, this x is 0 here. So therefore, Ftx is, so that means x equal to 0. So T is injective. So T is injective. And since V is finite dimensional, T is an isomorphism. So G belongs to GLV. Now next, suppose so therefore T belongs, and obviously if you compose, so identity will already be there, will satisfy this property, and then if T satisfies this property, T inverse will also satisfy, because you can put T inverse here over there, and T inverse also satisfies, the composition is also there. So this is simply a group, a subgroup. So GF is a subgroup of GLV. GF is a subgroup of GLV. Now suppose G is equivalent. G is equivalent in the sense that G xy is equal to G Ftx Ty, where T is an isomorphism here. Then what you can and A belongs to GF. A belongs to G say here. Then you look at F T inverse. So T F of T inverse X. Okay, yeah, G T inverse X. So let me take G T inverse X. You can easily verify that if you put G A T X T inverse, that will also satisfy the property. So then that means T A inverse A T will belong to GF. So that means it is conjugate, and otherwise, other way also. So GF and GG are conjugate. that can easily, that is observed here. Okay, so GF and GG are conjugate to that. So up to, so that means what? So let me observe here. So you observe here what happens. Say if F and G are two conjugate, two equivalent forms, then the corresponding classical group corresponding GF are isomorphic. Indeed, they are conjugate in G and F, so they are isomorphic. So to find out the classical groups up to isomorphism, what we have to do? We have simply to look into we have again here to classify all sesquilinear form up to equivalence. So we need to classify. We need to classify all sesquilinear forms up to equivalence, because each equivalence class will give you a unique group up to isomorphism, up to a conjugacy class in G and F anyway. So that is the classical group, right? So now the question is with the corresponding to different conjugacy classes, what are the groups which appear, and then to study them. So that is the thing which is needed now. So we wish to classify. We wish to describe these groups now. So then again the problem is what? Again the problem is to classify sesquilinear forms. So sesquilinear forms on different kind of forms. So I'll first go to the simplest case, and the simplest case is that of bilinear form. So I'll first restrict ourselves. So the first simplest case, I'll come to the bilinear form, and then conjugate bilinear the bilinear forms in over complex field. Now you observe that every form can be written as okay. So let me write here. You see, if F is a form, then F star, F tilde, or what is your F star? F star is also a form, right? So if F is a form, then F star is also a form. Now we say that F is Hermitian. ये आप लोग पहले complex case में कर ही चुके हैं. F is said to be Hermitian if F star is equal to F. F is said to be skew Hermitian if F star is equal to minus F. F star is equal to minus F. Then we say that it is skew Hermitian. And you see that any F can be written as a sum of a Hermitian. So F plus F star. So I'm assuming that the field is now the characteristic is different from 2. The characteristic of the field is different from 2. So then you can write F is equal to F plus F star by 2 and F minus F star by 2. And you see that sum of 2 form is again a form. So therefore this is a this is a Hermitian form and this is a skew Hermitian form. So every form can be written as sum of a Hermitian form and a skew Hermitian form. And this is unique representation, something like complex number, unique real part and the imaginary part. So this Hermitian comes out is that's kind of see in matrix theory, the Hermitian comes out to the analog of the real part, and the skew Hermitian comes out to be that of the imaginary part. So F plus F star by 2, F minus F star by 2. So ultimately we will and if it is star is trivial, then it is symmetric. Hermitian means symmetric and so on. So now I'll restrict myself for the time being to bilinear form. So F is said to be a bilinear form. So for some time I'll be on bilinear form. Bilinear form if star is identity. So that means no problem, it's on bilinear form. And then we wish to classify the bilinear form. So and again here over R. So Okay, so I'll come over R here. So okay, so now let me say here a theorem which is not so difficult to, let me do it here. So let F be a bilinear form on a vector space over a field of characteristic different from 2. Then we can find, so okay. So you see here that right now I'm taking a specific symmetric also I'm taking. F is a symmetric bilinear. Let F be a symmetric bilinear form. And separately I'll come to the skew symmetric also a little later. So let F be a symmetric bilinear form. Then we have a basis of V such that the matrix representation of F is a diagonal matrix. It is something like diagonal matrix, say A1, A2, AR, 0, 0, 0, where R is the rank of the bilinear form. So it is this theorem which we want to first of all say here, and that is a very elementary proof. So first of all, so let F be a symmetric bilinear form. So I'll prove it by induction on V. So the proof is by induction on dimension of V. This is the usual thing. So dimension V equal to 0, there is nothing to do. V equal to 1, nothing to do. So we assume it the induction hypothesis for certain n here. Now let F be a bilinear form on, so for n we assume, and we are proving for n plus 1. So let us take F to be a bilinear form on a vector space V of dimension n. If F is already 0, then there is nothing to do. If F, so let F, so by induction on if dimension of V is equal to 1, nothing to do. So assume it for dimension V equal to n. Assume it for n, and assume that the dimension of V is n plus 1. So if F is already 0, then there is nothing to do. It is already R is equal to 0, and there is nothing to do. Just a minute. There is nothing to do if F is 0, right? Now, suppose F is non-zero. Suppose F is non-zero. So then I claim there is X belonging to V such that Fxx is non-zero. Xxx is non-zero. For if not, f x plus y, what is this equal to? This is your fxx plus fxy plus fyx plus fyy. And if you assume it to be 0 for every x and y, this will be 0. And fxy is fyx. So this will mean that fx2 fxy is equal to 0. And that will imply that fxy equal to 0. I have assumed the field to be a characteristic different from 2. So fxy will be equal to 0. So therefore, you see that you can, it is non-zero. So there will be a vector. So there exists some x vector, say x1 here in V such that fx1 x1. So this is usual trick now. Fx1 x1 is different from 0. Now let us look at the subspace generated by x1, fx1. So this is a subspace generated by x1, and look at its orthogonal complement in the sense of f here. So look, x1 orthogonal complement, which is equal to y, so that fx1y is equal to x1 y equal to 0 for every fx y, those y such that fx y is equal to 0, means alpha x1. So this is orthogonal complement that way. So this is your look at this. So then you see that obviously the intersection of x1 orthogonal complement is 0, because anything here is alpha x1, and if it is in common, so alpha x1 will be equal to 0. F of this will be equal to 0. Alpha x1 will be 0 because it is in both. So this is equal to 0. Comma x1 is equal to 0, and if x1 is different from 0, so you see that alpha is positive. So therefore you see that the intersection is 0, and you take any x here in x, so you can also so that you can write as a member of some alpha x1 plus y, where y is orthogonal complement in the orthogonal complement. So put x1 equal to 0 and get the value of alpha. So you can write in this form. So therefore you see that you can write as x1 direct sum x1 orthogonal complement, and this is also invariant under F. You can easily see that this is also invariant under F, because if you take any member here, then fx1 of that is equal to 0. So this is obviously clear. So this is equal to this, F is invariant, and then you can find out a basis in x1 orthogonal complement. So x1 orthogonal complement is invariant. I mean, F restrict F to this. Invariant means restrict F to x1 orthogonal complement, and this is also a symmetric bilinear form. So there will be a basis. So x2, say x r xr plus 1, xn plus 1 here, such that fxi xj is equal to 0, right? For I different from j, that's the orthogonal basis. So fxi xj is equal to 0 here. So then you see that x1, x2, xr that satisfy the required property. So therefore, any symmetric bilinear form has an orthogonal basis. So in a way, if every symmetric bilinear form has an orthogonal basis provided, so that is what we observe here. So thus, if F is a symmetric bilinear form, then F has an orthogonal basis in the sense that fxi xj is equal to 0, orthogonal basis here x1, x2, xn, so that fxi xj is equal to 0, so that fxi for every I different from j. In other words, the matrix of x of f is a diagonal matrix, some diagonal matrix, lambda 1, lambda r 0, 0, 0, that where r is the rank. So this is what there. So I will come to this. I will further classify this symmetric forms maybe later. Incidentally, this you can find out in algebra 2 also. This part which I have did. Okay, so thank you. कुछ आई एम सॉरी, मैंने ऑलरेडी समय दे दिया, डिस्कशन का समय शायद स्वप्निल यही चाहते थे और मैंने वो ले लिया, तो
नहीं ठीक है, डिस्कशन का समय, डिस्कशन जो है नेक्स्ट टाइम हो सकता है, अगर लोगों को सवाल पूछना है और कुछ बातचीत करनी है तो वो बेहतर रहेगा, लेकिन आज बढ़िया रहा। और बहुत
मैंने लिखा थोड़ा अजीब अजीब तरीके से है, पर क्लियर है। आई होप, आई डोंट नो कुछ चीजें, लेकिन आई हैव मेड इंटेलिजिबल टू पीपल एज मुझे लगता है मैंने कुछ तो
जी बिल्कुल। और हमें लगता है कि एक चीज और की जो यंग पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं वो अगर सवाल पूछेंगे और तो बेहतर होगा, हम सबको अच्छा लगेगा।
हाँ बिल्कुल, मैं
और
चाहूंगा कि वो पूछें, और ये बहुत बेसिक चीजें हैं, और वो सब जितने यंग पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं उन सबको मैं चाहूंगा कि ये सब चीज सीख लें और बहुत अच्छी तरह से जल्दी सीख सकते हैं। हम शायद कुछ जल्दी कर रहे होंगे या कुछ थोड़ा सा वो हो रहा होगा, लेकिन वो अगर चाहेंगे, अगर वो हमको रोकेंगे तो वो बहुत अच्छी तरह से सीख सकते हैं। और इसमें कोई बड़ी वो नहीं है। तो these are all very so you can तो हम चाहेंगे कि यंग पार्टिसिपेंट्स भी कुछ सवाल पूछें, बिल्कुल सही बात है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल जी।
तो और अभी मैं एग्जांपल्स भी कुछ नहीं दे रहा हूं, लेकिन दूंगा।
बिल्कुल ठीक है जी।
हाँ,
तो आज की सेमिनार यहीं पर बंद करते हैं और फिर मंडे को हम लोग 3:30 बजे मिलते हैं।
ठीक है।